You know, one of the things we have been calling for on this program, Spotify, the massive corporation which owns the Joe Rogan show, has paid $100 million for it over the course of several years, making millions upon it. If Rogan is going to tread into areas of politics or medicine or whatnot, that simple fact-checking be, God bless you.
Thank you.
Simple fact-checking be employed. I understand the idea of talking on a 3-hour show and that you could say things that are not factual by accident. It happens. Even around here where we try and start every day making sure that we don't say anything that we don't know isn't true, that we haven't spent any time checking on. But I get it. Different format. It's not a political show. His authority comes from the fact that he works out a lot and, fed people worms on TV and gets high. We all don't have that luxury.
No.
But it seems like they seem to have gotten the message, at least in this instance, over at Spotify, where you can imagine, like somebody at Spotify said, "Hey, what's Joe Rogan's producer's name?"
Jamie.
And
he's a meme, by the way. He's around often, and there have been jokes like, "Jamie, pull this up," right? So he pulls things up. He's active in the broadcast, but just not so active in like the fact-checking Joe Rogan or any of his guests part of it. Yeah,
Jamie, listen, do me a favor. You're getting Matt Walsh, that bigot, into the studio today. Now, we're okay with Joe promoting and platforming bigots. That's fine. I think we know that. But really, we got to be careful that Joe is fact-checking him. Remember, this guy, Matt Walsh, has spent the past year or two delving deep into the question of transgender people. He is an expert in his mind.
A documentary filmmaker.
Right. He spoke to an African tribe about gender.
Yes.
Transcontinental, traveling all over the world to scour for this information.
Thank God that Joe Rogan has him on as an expert on transgenderism.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers, really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on it, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess.
Hold on for a second. I don't want to interrupt this too much, all right? Because I know people find it annoying when I do it. But just a reminder, this guy has been working on a documentary for over a year and a half. He has been on every major television, broadcast outlet. Like he was on Bill Maher, right, recently?
Yep.
The guy's been everywhere.
Congress is responding to him with policy.
Mm-hmm. And it's on transgenderism and the problem with transgenderism. And this guy is asked one of the most basic questions you could get asked by Joe Rogan, self-professed idiot. And he's guessing at the number? He's guessing at the number because we don't know. Okay, noted. He said millions of kids on hormone blockers by now.
Well, he's not guessing because he had to say he was guessing after Rogan goes, really?
Yeah.
And that's the amount of pushback. He wasn't even expecting that amount of pushback.
Right?
And then he's shitting himself.
And I he says millions by now, as if I checked it this morning. But a lot of things have happened since then.
Yeah, it's going up so much.
Let's go for it. I just want you to understand this. This is what this is the premier transphobe in the country who has supposedly done all this research.
And hitching his brand to this particular issue, trying to differentiate himself from his other colleagues like Ben Shapiro. But
my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019, and when you compare that to how many were done between 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase.
Pause it. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. And I know that we're pausing it a lot, but so there's been a massive increase in that 3-year period. He cites 2008 to 2015, a massive, by the way, it's double that time period, but fine. Massive increase since that other time period. What has happened in the past, I don't know, 5-6 years when it comes to trans healthcare? It's gained wider acceptance in medical communities. No, it must be something nefarious where it's just exploding everywhere and the liberals are telling you and forcing you to be trans, as opposed to like, I mean, the example you gave me before the show, right? There's been a massive increase in gay marriages. Well, why is that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more gay marriages over the past like 6, 7, 8 years than there was like in the 8 years prior.
It's weird.
So strange. All of a sudden, all these new gay people. All right, go ahead.
And over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you
But
say girls, you're talking about prepubescent,
right? Minors, and that's
Pause it for a
just up
second.
until 2019.
Not prepubescent.
Incidentally, prepubescent is different from minors. There's no prepubescent mastectomies. I can assure you, almost definitionally.
You can't. You get it right. Well.
Go ahead.
And then we know that
I mean, pause
there's
it.
been
Just
this exponential increase in all
like,
this.
it's just like we'll go back so you can watch this whole thing, complete. But just understand, this guy purports to be an expert. They're having a conversation about this, and he's going like, minors and prepubescent are the same thing. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Is there not like a 6th grade education between the two of these idiots? Prepubescent equals minor?
But don't you hear prepubescent? It sounds scarier. It sounds scarier than if you've transitioned and if you have been socially transitioned for years and years and years, and at age 16 or 17 you decide to finally, with the assistance of your doctors and with the consent of your parents, decide this is right for me because I am a trans boy. It's just.
All right, so go back. We'll let it go through. Sorry, I know this is annoying, but this is it's more annoying to have to listen to this and understand how widely disseminated this crap gets.
2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase, and over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you
But
say girls, you're talking about prepubescent,
right? Minors, and that's just up until 2019, and then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot more.
Yeah, look, if you're an adult and you want to do that and you understand who you are and what you are and this is how you feel you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board and so many people are angry, if you have, like, people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
Yeah,
Oh my
they will be.
God.
And I also,
Yeah, because you're fucking it up.
I actually think that that this shouldn't be happening to.
Oh, the light.
Very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender
1,000 a year.
dysphoria diagnosis.
This says it's kind of undercounted, but that's
That would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
A big undercount, 4,000 to a million.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess hundreds of thousands at this, but
Pause it. Whoa. So the expert has just moved from millions, he said 2 minutes ago in this clip, to it's actually
An order of magnitude smaller.
5,000 over the course of 5 years.
Less than that, meaning, as Matt just said, less than 1,000 a year. Less than 1,000 a year, but it's millions
And so he's
that we
dropped
know
it down.
of.
Oh, well, based on new information, I actually think it's hundreds of thousands instead of millions. I mean, this guy is an expert, according to him.
And
like how much more fundamental what question? Like, on day one, we got the video cameras, we got the microphones. What's the first question we should ask? How many kids are how many kids are we talking about? You know what? Let's save that question for 2.5 years from now when we're done with the movie. Are you effing kidding me? This is a freaking embarrassment. Good job, Spotify. Continue.
I actually think that this shouldn't be happening to.
dawn lights
Very
on
small number,
Marblehead.
if that's
That's what's
right.
happening
It
right
says
here.
over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
This says it's kind of undercounted, but that's
That would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000
yeah.
people a year.
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit. Why did we book this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands at this, but I could
You
be wrong.
asshole.
I could be wrong.
Million sounds great.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Could be wrong.
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh claims it was.
Yeah, you're full of
Yeah,
shit.
you know what? They should. Media
like
Matters
we
should.
are.
In fact, every single person who has ever had you on a show should take a look at that clip and say, God, what the hell is wrong with me? Why did I have this person on who didn't even know the basic fact of his entire premise, other than the fact that no one should be allowed to be trans, according to him? Outside of that, every single thing he said beyond that is a complete and total lie.
Yeah,
The most basic, fundamental argument he's making is that there's too many kids. Like, he's saying that there's thousands double mastectomy. I'd like to look that up now too, frankly.
no, it's not that. It's not that. I just looked it up. This is from the Christian Broadcasting Network, which is I wouldn't trust necessarily for stats on this, but findings based on the nationwide ambulatory surgery sample found that about 1,100 chest reconstruction surgeries performed on children between 2016 and 2019. That's between 3 years of 1,100.
I think that's what he said. Double mastectomies over, and that's probably where he got it from the Christian Broadcast Network,
Right.
which, of course, as you know, is a very reliable arbiter on these questions.
We should say on this, like implicit in their discussion that people are rushing into these is the idea that it's some sort of fad and these people are going to regret it later. But we have deep numbers on that, and the studies show, like, depending on what country it is, under 1% to about 2% people have some sort of regret undergoing these surgeries, and of the people that detransition, like a large chunk of those folks retransition back. So it implies that maybe some of the regret is cultural. So like this is all like, and so what you have to think about then is if we're going to say like what Matt Walsh wants with these Tennessee hospitals, say we're not going to do any of this stuff. You're basically sentencing kids who have socially transitioned to have to grow breasts that they don't want because you're decided that Republican lawmakers need to be between that child and a young adult at that point, their doctor and parents. We need to further, government bureaucrat there.
And there are like actual ramifications for forcing that kind of like say growth of breasts or just pubescent growth of traits that don't actually match with one's gender identity, and that makes it harder for trans kids to socially transition. And if they make that decision between their doctors and their parents, conservatives who are like, hey man, live and let live, should have no problem with it. But that's not the reality of the situation. Matt Walsh is a theocrat who wants to impose his very strict sense of morality and values onto society, regardless of the outcomes for everybody else. It's a minoritarian and religious fundamentalist argument. So he can't back it with facts. That's why he has to fudge them, and he wasn't expecting pushback. But
Fudge?
But I mean, lie. Fine.
Fudge.
No, but he wasn't
to
expecting
5,000.
He was not expecting
None.
that Spotify, between the last time that we covered a Rogan clip where he was lying or misrepresenting facts
About the litter boxes.
about the litter boxes. Yes, that is exactly what happened. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but my guess is that Spotify's legal team, after that happened, after Rogan completely lied about a personal anecdote that one of his friends had a parent that had them who was a teacher, who had them install a litter box in their school. Like, that was completely made up, and he had to backtrack about it. That was directly from Spotify's legal team, and they're now saying we have to push back on some of this. So Matt Walsh, we got him in the sweet spot. We got him in the sweet spot when that memo came down and he was not expecting it, and that caused him to essentially shit his pants on air.
Okay, so according to the New York Times, around 3,200 girls 18 to 19, those aren't minors,
Right.
received cosmetic breast implants from 2020. This is according to, and another 4,700 teenagers ages 13 to 19 had breast reductions. Okay, so that's breast reductions. That's not necessarily mastectomies, because I mean, I knew kids when I was a kid who had breast reductions because the breasts, they didn't feel comfortable with how large they were.
Same.
I don't hear them so concerned about breast augmentation.
Nor do I hear them concerned about rhinoplasty. That's some kids get when they're in their teenage years, and the other kind of elective surgery. Not hearing anything about that.
No, it's just insanity.
Not hearing it's a butchering. It's a slicing of kids.
Tulsi Gabbard has repeated calls that these doctors should be arrested.
How do you just like not feel embarrassed that you've just brought on a guest whose entire claim to fame is deep dive into transgenderism in this country, who says there have been millions of kids who have been on puberty blockers when the number turns out to be literally a couple of thousand. It's just nuts.
Humiliating. It should be. But I guess Media Matters is going to run with it. We're going to have a field day.
Media Matters is good.
Yeah.
I hope they have a field day with it. I hope they get it all over the place.
Yeah, Media Matters is going to run with it because you just stepped in shit.
Well, whatever. It's just a number. I don't believe it.
Hey, one is too many. No, it's not.
Exactly. You got to say that. You got to say that.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the number is, you got to say just the mere existence of it is wrong.
But I will try to.
But I
inflate
will
that
enhance the thing by saying millions.
for rhetorical effect.
Exactly. Millions, one. At the end of the day, God sees everything.
Matt Walsh would be like talking about witches 200 years ago.
100%. 100%.
I bet he believes in demons now, but he just kind of dials that back. Not to like that's what at the root of the trans issue. It's demonic. But you can't say that publicly.